Procrastination basically means that you are not doing what you know you need to do when you know you need to do it. It's putting things off because in the short term, it's easier, more pleasurable to be distracted or to indulge yourself doing something else than it is to sit down and do the actual work to create the outputs that matter when they are needed. And I know that every single one of us procrastinates. Me too, so it's okay. The issue is, can you set yourself up so you do less of it? I believe you can. There are very important emotional things you can do to procrastinate less. You know, most procrastination is either tied to worry, the emotion of worry, like I'm worried that if I do it, it won't turn out well, or I'm worried it's gonna be too hard and I can't handle it. If you ever feel like you're procrastinating, sit down with a journal and say, what am I worried about? What happens is unconsciously, we're not aware of our worries, so we keep thinking it's the task's fault. And we start blaming ourselves and we start having like these esoteric kind of conversations with ourselves about life's meaning. Instead, what's happening is unconsciously, we're a little worried about something. And if we can bring that worry into our awareness, then we can examine it and start building the case that that's not something we should be worried about. That is something we can truly handle.
Need motivation? Watch the top 10 of Believe Nation because I love it.
Hey, it's Carmichael, and I make these videos because in my first business, I quit on my business partner. I struggled to keep going. I was making $300 a month and felt like a complete failure. And the thing that saved me, that pulled me up, was studying the stories of famous entrepreneurs. I got the motivation from them. I also got the strategies of what to do next so that I can go off and achieve my dreams. And quite honestly, I still need the stories today myself to continue my motivation to take it to the next level. So today, let's learn from one of the best, Brendon Burchard, and my take on his top 10 rules of success. Enjoy. Rule number 2 is learn to prioritize tasks.
Do you feel like this week you were rapidly moving towards the completion of a major project in your life? I mean, do you feel like you made major strides? I think every Friday is a good day to wake up and say, did I make major strides this week? Or was I kind of all over the place? And major strides mean there is a direction towards your efforts. You're not just randomly doing everything because they emailed you about it. You have a clear sight to where you're trying to go. You got some clear projects lined up. Even if they're only lined up for the next 30 days, that's okay. You don't have to be able to see 5, 10, 15, 20 years out to be able to organize the next 30 days. Does that make sense? I'll be an example. I don't know where I'll be exactly in 10 years. I know I'll still be doing this. For me, I'll be writing and I'll be teaching, but I don't know how that might be. I might be doing it by, in 10 years from now, I might be 100% hologram. I mean, in 10 years from now, I might be on your kitchen table right now in front of you. Creepy, I know. But, we don't know what's going to happen in 10 years. But I hope you know what's going to happen in the next 30 days. Do you know what's going to happen in the next 30 days? Do you know what you're going to make happen in the next 30 days? I've found that that's how high performers think. They are clear on the major projects and initiatives in their life. And they have taken all the tasks that are required to make those projects and initiatives happen, and they've organized them into buckets of projects or initiatives. A huge piece of high performance in all the coaching I do, and I've been blessed to coach billionaires, so please don't anyone say, well, this doesn't apply to me, I already know it. Because the worst thing you can ever do in your personal development is go, yeah, I already know. It's not do you already know, it's do you implement with unbelievable amounts of focus, discipline, and consistency. I don't care if you know the topic. You might already know block time. Yeah, Brendon, I've heard you teach block time. That's fine. That's why I'm here live with you, coaching you every single month to ask a question. Good. I'm glad you know block time. Did you do it last week effectively? Is it clearly scheduled this upcoming week? If I zoom out on your calendar, can I see these blocks of time clearly leading to the completion of an initiative or a project? If not, my friend, this is $1 million moment for you. This is the moment where you go, whoa, I need to get more strategic and disciplined in defining my projects, breaking them down, and making sure they land on my calendar. Because if they don't, you're only gonna do what the world gives you. And if you only do what the world gives you, you will always be a reactive person. And if you are always a reactive person, you'll never be capable of adding the value that you know you can add in the world.
Rule number 3 is make a plan.
Do you have a plan? Is it written down? Is it on a wall? Is it executable? Is it a plan that serves your business growth goals, but also your lifestyle, your life goals? If you think about the next 6 months of your business, again, which is your Super Bowl in our industry, like, what's your plan? What's your plan this month, next month, the month after that, the month after that? Get together a plan. If you don't have a plan yet, you're still like, I don't know what I'm going to offer, or I'll figure out my new offer next month. You're cheating yourself, and you're going to fall into a lower sentiment. You're going to experience less progress. Don't keep thinking, oh, I just need to keep learning. I need to keep learning. No, put a plan in place. Make a decision. What's the offers? When are we going to launch them? What's the evergreen? What's going to be running? Like, 1 or 2 serious decisions today about your plan changes everything. The benefit that many of you have, as my friend does, is they have money. You know, they have sufficient money to survive, sufficient money to have abundance or give something to kids. And what I found over and over and over in this space specifically, people with money, more often than anyone else, fails to make a plan because they don't have to. And this is a transition. They're transitioning from one thing into another. They're in a moment of transition. And so they're like, you know what? I'm comfortable. I'm safe. I actually don't have to do anything. I'll just keep learning. I'll keep engaging. I like the learning. But at some point, they never make the plan, and that cheats them from the progress, that cheats them from the impact. And then their sentiment goes down. Even if they're in the right group, or they got the good business, or they do know how to help people. They just never made a plan and executed it. And people like you in a group like this, there is a high achievement mindset that needs to know that you are executing against a plan. This is what happens when people retire. They had a plan in their career. They had work plans and teams. And then they retire and they forget to make a plan. And a month goes by, they're all right. Maybe even a year, maybe even 2 years of decompression. But at some point, they kind of could start not just going stir crazy, they lose self-esteem. Their mental health goes down. Humans are goal-driven human people. We have to have a goal, a plan, and be moving towards it to sense that we are activating our potential. Our sense of our potential is often tied to having a plan.
Rule number 4 is recognize your value.
Strive and serve free from outcome. Those of you who read any Eastern philosophies or spiritual work, whether it's the Bhagavad Gita, whether it's, Buddhism, whether it is more ancient ways of thinking, the idea was show up, work hard, help other people, but free yourself from the expectation of the outcome. This is hard because a lot of people have mattered, but they didn't get the outcome they thought. So they didn't integrate that they mattered. Does this make sense? They're like, I thought if I did that for other people, I'd become famous. And so they don't feel like they mattered. Because what they're focusing on is, did I become famous? Did not? No, then I don't matter. Versus focusing on, I showed up and helped people. Meaning, if you're emphasizing the perfect outcome versus engaging in the process, you will rarely feel like you matter. Your focus is on this thing that you can't control or contribute to. And if there's no connection to that outcome in your mind, you go, well, I guess I didn't matter. I guess I did all that. I did all that. I didn't matter. I was talking with a mom recently. She has a daughter who just turned 22 years old. And for the first 21 years of her daughter's life, her daughter liked her. And then her daughter turned 22. She doesn't know why, but all of a sudden at 22, this daughter no longer likes mom. And she feels like she doesn't matter. All of a sudden, I said, well, did you feel like you mattered 5 years ago? She goes, yeah. I said, why? Well, my daughter liked me. I said, so your sense of whether or not you matter in life depends on whether or not in this moment today, someone likes you and approves of you. You see how ridiculous that thinking is? So the process of being an amazing mom for 21 years goes out the door. I don't matter because now my daughter don't like me. I did all that for nothing, focusing on an outcome. And most outcomes are immediate. We forget that outcomes are entirely changeable over a period of time. We lose perspective. We zero in on what's wrong today and we feel wrong versus recognizing this woman made incredible choices throughout her life to care for this daughter. She's got enough meaning and mattering points to last 5 lifetimes for parents who are disengaged and don't care. This woman gave so much, but she never gave herself the gift of feeling like she matters.
Also, to make sure you're actually taking action after watching this video, I've designed a special free worksheet just for this video. The worksheet will highlight all of the lessons learned in this video, as well as pull out our 3 favorite learnings and quotes that will inspire you to actually do something. The worksheet will also give you space to write down what your key takeaways are and your specific plan of action to make sure you're getting results. If you want the worksheet designed specifically for this video, absolutely for free, there's a link in the description below. Go click on it and start building the momentum in your life and your business. I'll see you there. Rule number 5 is see beyond now.
When people don't get more momentum, or they set a habit or a goal and they say, I'm going to achieve that, but they don't, I believe one of the main reasons why is this first fail. People fail to see beyond now. They fail. They see their current circumstances right now. They go, oh my God, I got bills to pay. Oh my God, I got in that fight last night. Oh my God, I haven't done work for 3 months, so why would I do it now? They get stuck because all their vision is stuck now. And I know this from even high performers, very successful people who I've been able to be blessed to work with, whether I'm working with an Olympian, literally a billionaire, or having the opportunity to network, associate, coach, connect with some of the most extraordinary people in the world. One of the things that I always have to do in the conversations with them is move their mindset and their conversation pattern from today to the future. Because what's the opposite? If you are stuck in today and you don't believe today can change, that you're going to be right here all the time, that this is just the way you are, that this is just what your income's always going to be the same, you're never going to make any more money, you're never going to impact more people, you're never going to get out of that argument pattern, and you're just focused on that, that quickly leads to upset, hurt, turmoil, negative emotion, and ultimately to depression. And because, what's one way to help somebody move out of those bad emotions? You start moving them towards their future again. Give them something to look to that inspires them, that challenges them, that makes them want to be something more. And this is what I tell people all the time. I say, you want more momentum in your life? Start expecting something from yourself again, beyond what is today, right? Because maybe you're already good. You're like, Brendon, I'm watching this. I got my thing down, homie. Maybe that's where you're at. But sometimes your next level is expect even more of yourself. That have that truly, that hunger inside, that higher standard that says, you know what? I want my life to be so significantly better. And then when you say that, don't get depressed or upset because what people say, I want my life to be so better, but it's so bad. Look at all these things. And all they do is they're focused on today. See, they're failing to see beyond now. I want the big dream, but it sucks now. And then they spend hours thinking about how it sucks now. And they're like, I wonder why I can't get motivated. Because if you spend hours thinking about how it sucks now, you will generate the negative emotional reality that will keep you stuck in that now. It is our job to look beyond the now, right? Yes, be fully engaged. Yes, be fully present. But if you want momentum, you need to raise your ambitions. And when you raise your ambitions, you stay stuck right there. You see that person, feel that person, be that person. You're there, not here.
Rule number 6 is delegate 7 days in advance.
Delegate 7 days in advance. Delegate 7 days in advance. He told me, and this was really interesting, and this is a coach who has taken teams to world champion levels. This was amazing. He said, Brendon, most people delegate day of. And I was like, oh my God, that's what I do. You know, I get to that day, and because I'm so focused as an individual contributor in my career, I'll have my week planned out pretty good and pretty solid. And then on that day, when I'm doing a task, I'll go, oh, right, I need some help with this. And I'll delegate day of. And he said what he does is he sits down, like on a Monday morning, and he looks out at his week, and he immediately thinks of what are all the questions I'm gonna have, and what could all the things I could hand and delegate right now. And he delegates 7 days in advance. And I was like, that's pretty sharp. I mean, that is a weaponized high performer right there. Delegate 7, not day of, 7 days in advance. So you need someone to go get you lunch on a Thursday, on Monday, or on Thursday before, say, hey, next Thursday, I need you to go get me lunch at 2 o'clock. I know that's so basic, right? But it's almost the same thing as like, oh, you're working on getting your OVO up and you're going to have to make a logo. Okay, 7 days in advance, put it on to someone else and say, hey, need a logo in 7 days. Like, we don't think about that. What happens is now we get to the webpage and go, oh crap, it says upload logo. I don't have a logo. I better delegate that now. And what it does is it slows you down. So delegating in advance speeds up the schedule. And if you think this is no duh, let me ask you a question. Did you sit down at the beginning of this week and say, what are all the things I need to delegate? Because you know what? I didn't. So that's why I said, I suck at this one. And this is a big high performance habit for me this year. I really want to get better at it.
Rule number 7 is be with the right people.
You got to have the right people on the bus. You got to have the right support team. You got to have the people around you, your family, the kids, your spouse, your partners. They got to be clear about the plan, understanding about the process, part of the practice, and in it with you. And for those who haven't got support, or you keep thinking you're going to hire, or whatever, it's like, and you've heard me say this all year, you got to get the support, you got to get the team, you got to get the A players. We have 4 new people starting at Growth Day this month in October, 4 new people. And it's just like, okay. And some of that, really, we're hiring for the future there. We're really hiring for the future there with all 4 roles. We've been chugging along without those 4 roles. But it's like, okay, looking out in the plan, longer term process thinking in mind, making sure not going to burn out the team. Let's bring these people on, even though we've been succeeding without them. It's that thinking always about your plan and your process and your people so that you can support them. And many of you, the greatest gift you're going to give yourself is finally somebody to help you.
Rule number 8 is have self-mastery.
When I say you can achieve most of your ambitions in the next decade, I genuinely mean that. It might not be at scale for some of the things that people want to achieve. You know, I'd like to sell my company for $400 million, Brendon. Well, I don't know if that's going to happen in the next decade, but I know you can achieve financial freedom in the next decade. If that is your focus, if that is something that you want, if that is what you build and architect toward. If you are a person who says, well, Brendon, I would love to be known in this area. I would love to achieve that thing. I would love to open up my new store. I would love to move across the country or across the world. I would love to travel a globe. Look, you don't have to have crazy means to do any of those things. You know, most people think, well, one day I'll live in a nicer neighborhood. That could be literally in 3 months from now. And people don't believe that. And so they think it's going to take 5, 6, 7 decades. When the truth is, it's all about scale of ambition and how much we really want. And that's why instead of saying decade of achievement or decade of all your perfect dreams, I'm like, let's make it the decade of mastery. Because if you achieve mastery in your craft, you achieve mastery in your relationships, you achieve self-mastery over your emotions, your physical body, your mental and spiritual realms, then guess what? Everything that shows up is either joyful and fulfilling or not. And so I'm here to tell you, you can have more in this next decade than you imagine right now. And I'm not here to be your hype guy. I'm here to explain literally the psychological underpinnings of what makes that true. You can have way more in the next decade. You can experience more in the next decade. You can feel more in the next decade than you're probably imagining now. Because sometimes at this time of year, you're just crash landing into the end of the year. You know, you're trying to get all your projects done. You're trying to get gifts bought for everybody in the holidays. You're trying to wrap up all those little tasks that you still have outstanding. And right now, it's just stressful and it's a hurry and you're trying to get everything done. If you're here today, it's all about how do we design a decade of mastery? Because it is through self-mastery that we gain the things we truly want. It's through self-mastery that we become more disciplined. It's through self-mastery that we create and cultivate the emotions and experiences we want of life. It's through self-mastery that we're able to be more patient, kind, loving, and thoughtful with people. It's through self-mastery that we're able to discern what we really want. It's through self-mastery that we're able to say no and set some boundaries. It's through self-mastery that we're able to get ourselves in good health. It's through self-mastery that we're able to get here in this moment when it's time to serve and feel good, find that positive aspect, and lead well. All of it requires us to master ourselves. And I really believe it is through the vehicle of self-mastery that you are going to achieve whatever your big ambitions and goals and dreams are.
Rule number 9 is do the research.
What else do people fail at? They fail to do the research. I want to lose weight. I want to lose weight. I want to lose weight. I can feel losing weight. I can see myself thinner. It'd be great. But then they go, gosh, I wonder what would be a healthy diet. I wonder what would be the best workout routine. And what do? They go watch one YouTube video and they go, oh, well, I guess I can't do that. I'm like, no. You want to be a high performer, you do your homework. And you do your homework daily. Every day you're trying to learn, trying to do new things, testing things out, measuring things with that scientific approach. That every day you're doing your homework. What worked today? What didn't work today? Do you know how many people I know don't ask that question at the end of the day? You know what? More people at the end of the day go, what do we watch on Netflix? Than ask, what worked today? What didn't work today? I mean, sometimes you just got to get, high performance is about the fundamentals, discipline, common sense, applied over and over and over and over again. So at the end of the day, go, what worked today? That's research. It's a scientific mind. It's saying, where am I? Where do I want to go? What's working? What's not working? And noticing what's working and amplifying that. But you got to start with doing the homework for your dreams. You know, when I began, I went to seminars and bought courses and read books on how to write books. I went to speaking classes on how to speak. I read everything I could about people in my industry or great leaders in history who I could learn from their communication patterns. I started reading a book a week when I was 19 years old, which is a big dream of mine. And I'm now at, 20 plus years later, I'm in my 40s, and I've read a book a week, and I've only missed 3 weeks. I get 1 week, if I'm honest, there's been 4 weeks now, but I don't count that week because there was, it's none of your business. I just didn't count that week. But anyway, I've been reading a lot of books because I'm always doing homework. I think it's important. All research or all homework, it's got to be diligent and consistent. You don't do it once and then forget about it. Just like you don't go to grad school and you watch, you go to 4 classes in the first week and then you don't come back again. You got to stay in class, man. Stay in class. It is one of my most quoted phrases now from High Performance Habits is that if you leave your growth to randomness, you'll always be stuck in the land of mediocrity. Doing your research means designing your curriculum. A lot of people fail to get any momentum because they learn just enough and they just do that. But they never kept learning, so they never drew a bigger circle. If you keep learning and doing the research, you draw the bigger circle.
And rule number 10, the last one before some very special bonus clips, is feel the goodness of life.
You've got to learn to feel the goodness of life. I know this sounds super esoteric. Don't worry, I'll get more tactical for some of you who are like, come on, dude. But so many people don't feel like they matter because they've never felt life. Who knows what I'm talking about? They don't feel like they matter. They've never felt life. They've never felt the energy of this moment. There's no connection to the presence. It's what I've been teaching for so long now. You have to condition yourself to feel the day. You have to condition yourself to feel the day. This means you have to notice moments and appreciate it, have gratitude for it, recognize beauty, recognize something happening around you that draws awe, aspiration, inspiration. It means feeling the goodness of life, also having perspective to realize how much better your life is than some of the other alternatives. It means, for example, recognizing the struggles of other people and being thankful that you are gifted something different, and knowing that in the magic of this very moment, you have new choices. And if you're looking for what's there, there's no goodness in life, Brendon. It's all arbitrary and chaotic. And I'm like, but isn't it true? You have choice at this moment. You can choose your next thought. You can choose to pick up the thing on your desk. You can choose to call somebody after this session. You got a lot of choices. If there's any great goodness in life, it's the fact that you got a lot of choice. It's the fact in this moment you can make a change. But it's the fact that you can also aim your awareness and aim your focus to take something in that's beautiful and good. Because when you sense your goodness and you sense that the world is good, others are good, life is good, this moment is imbued with goodness, then all of a sudden you feel different. And when you feel that around you and you feel that from within, you start to say, this really matters. This means something. If you don't recognize the beautiful gift of life, it's hard to ever recognize that you are a gift and that you matter. This is such an important topic. If we're going to have goals and deadlines in our learning, we must never, ever, ever start from scratch or proceed randomly. Never start from scratch and proceed randomly. Not at an advanced level. You're going to spend so much dumb time wandering through the woods, not knowing what you're supposed to do. So this is where this idea comes into play. You've got to model, block the learning, and practice. Model, block, learn, and practice. Model, block, learn, and practice. What does this mean? Well, model is pretty obvious. It means get a plan, get a roadmap, find somebody who's already done it, understand their strategies, right? You're trying to lose weight. Don't just go to the gym. Find a fitness program and follow that thing. You'll get way more results when you find a program, a roadmap, a way, a style, a method, and you follow that than you ever will randomly making it up. There's nothing you want to do in your life that someone has not already figured out and already laid the path for, already drew the roadmap. Buy the course, go to the seminar, watch their video, listen to their podcast. There's already a model. Never try to advance something without a model, right? Never try to advance something without a model. Next up, block learn. This means there's blocks of time in every single week of your life for that thing that you are trying to advance learn. So it's like, oh my gosh, I got to learn that French pretty quick. Well, you're not going to learn on a weekend. We need to make it sure it's part of your life. Block learning. When are you going to learn, apply, or practice that thing? Like schedule it out and schedule your learning out like you schedule out your work. So many people, I look at their calendars and their calendars, all these meetings. And I look at all their meetings. I go, well, meetings are fairly reactive or prospective, right? You're either reaching out, prospecting, or you're reacting in interviews, or doing status meetings, brainstorming meetings. But I'm like, but where are you learning the things that are going to advance the company? Where are you learning the things that are going to advance your health, your relationships, your marriage? If you're married, if I came into your life and I looked at your calendar and you want a better marriage and there's nothing in next week about where you have blocked time to learn how to have a better marriage, I'm like, how do you think that's going to improve? Your random date night? No. Like I remember in relationships when I was struggling because I never learned how to have a good relationship. So in my 20s, I would block time to literally read and listen to relationship programs. I would block time at some point to get therapy or get coaching. Like I'd like 3, 4, 5 years. Let me say that again, 3, 4, 5 years of studying relationships every week. And if I hadn't done that, there's no way I believe I could have, been blessed to attract or meet or connect with Denise. And came from that learning. And it made me good in relationships with people. I wasn't naturally good that way. I had to demand it of myself. I had to block the time. Okay. And then practice whatever skill set you're trying to develop. Same thing. Is it in the calendar? Is it in the calendar? Where is the practice? Just like when you're trying to teach your kids to learn the violin, they got to set a practice time. Okay, mom. Okay, dad. Where is your practice time? Where is it? Where's your practice time? You want to become wealthier? Okay. Where's your practice time to work on your finances? Where's your practice time to renegotiate that credit card bill? Where's your practice time to hit the gym? Where's your practice time to learn your new skill? Where's your practice time to do the homework? We have to have that in our own life. And when you don't have that, I know when I say this, you can get down on yourself. Oh gosh, why haven't I not been doing this? This is not an opportunity to beat yourself up for the past. This is an opportunity to learn and go, wow, let me set up this infrastructure in my life. Because learning, when it's set up as an infrastructure, that's how Olympians go from, good to one day a champion at their local level, to one day world level, to one day Olympic level. How? They set up the infrastructure around them to keep learning, to keep leveling up.
Now I want to share with you what I call the ladder of perception. It's just a way of understanding how your mind works. So often we go through the day, something happens and it turns us into a bad mood. And for the rest of the day, we're kind of wrecked and ruined and upset and frustrated. And it's not until we go home, have 5 glasses of wine that we finally chill out, right? So what can you do in the middle of the day to get yourself back? It's just helping you understand, well, how do your thoughts work? How is it that you're getting into these times in your life where you're just emotionally so upset or so frustrated, or you feel like you're just not in control? And how can we use that same reasoning to figure out how can you shape a more positive mindset? Because we all want to feel better, right? We want to have more positive thoughts. It's just hard when the day is crazy. We all want to have a lot more buoyancy and vibrancy and pop to our life, but it's hard when we keep taking in so much information that's not always positive, right? So this is going to be a way to explain how to get you in a better mindset. And it all begins with this first part. The first thing that happens to shape your way you think is you get some information, right? Super basic, I know, but hold with me for a second. Sometimes we don't realize how much information is coming in that is turning us into a negative person. And sometimes information happens and we grab hold of it and make it more than it is. I mean, has anyone said to you in the last couple months, hey, it's not a big deal, calm down? If they had, it's because there's this information coming in and you're grabbing it in a specific way that's turning your mind towards negativity. And I know this sounds very, very basic, but I promise we have to start with what's coming in, right? It's just that old saying, garbage in and garbage out. So what I tell people, if you want to have a healthy mind, first and foremost, pay attention to the information that is coming in. What are you consuming? What are you looking at? What are you watching? What are you reading? Who are the people who are around you? All of that is shaping your mind, which I know you already know. Here's the question. When's the last time you did sort of an assessment or an analysis of the people and the information coming in? Like, what blogs are you reading a lot? What do most of your emails seem to say? Who are the people who are around you? What's the emotion and the energy and the information they're giving you? I know this sounds really crazy, but I am so controlling of that in my life. I don't have a lot of negative people who are always giving me negative information. I don't consume very much media at all. I don't watch horror films, or I don't consume a lot of information that just tends towards the negative at all. Not because I'm Pollyannish, because I understand how it's going to affect me long term. So pay attention to the information you have coming in. Second, as the ladder goes up, well, we get the information and then we interpret it one way or another. This is where obviously we know we see something, some information comes in, we interpret it as bad or good, positive, negative, something I need to interact with and react to or not. The challenge is most people take little pieces of information and they blow it up and they interpret it to mean something very personal and very negative.
If you're in a place where you feel like you have a lot of arguments and fights, it's rarely about what's coming in, because we all deal with negative information or bad things, or the day gets interrupted. It's how do you interpret it? Then as we move up, we move to identity, right? This is, what did I see? What does it mean, positive or negative? Then it says, what does this mean about me specifically, right? And this is where people take things very, very, very personal. You know, someone comes in to work and says, well, I have some bad news. We're gonna have to let some people go today. And then they interpret it, oh my God, this company's gonna fail. Oh my gosh, I'm gonna have to quit. Oh my gosh, I might get fired. Oh my gosh, what's gonna happen in the future? And then identity. Here it is again. I failed again. Here it is again. I never seem to get good things from me. Here it is again. I just don't seem like I'm deserving of anything. And people take things at a personal level into their identity over a period of time. Now you can see how this ladder is building, because negative information can come in, you interpret it negatively, and then you take it personally negatively. And this is what happens to people. They don't realize little simple things. Someone cuts you off in traffic. How do you interpret that? See, when someone cuts me off in traffic, I go, oh, well, they didn't see me. Or, oh, they were trying to get ahead here. Other people, you know what they do. They're like, that son of a, and they get completely angry. They completely freak out. They say, all drivers are horrible. I hate this commute. This sucks. And then they say to themselves, they take it so personally, they say, you know what, I'm gonna get back at this person. I'm not gonna be wronged. I'm not gonna be disrespected. So they speed in front of them and cut them off, because they took someone passing in front of them to be what? Disrespect to who they are. Because they're a person who always feels disrespected. And if you always feel disrespected, what are your thoughts going to be like? So you see how all this is starting to build to how you feel, and then it shapes what you intend in the world. What are you gonna do, right? Your mind is all focused towards this one simple set of questions. It's, what does all this information mean? How do I need to interpret it? Pay attention to it, not pay attention to it. Important, not important. Good, bad. Then we take it to us. What does this mean to me personally? What does this say about me as a human? What am I dealing with here? And then it ultimately shapes our intentions. So the next time you find yourself in emotional craziness, or you feel really upset, or you're saying, I don't know why I'm thinking this way, you can step it back. What did I hear? How did I interpret that? What did it mean to me? What do I intend to do? Because all of that led to what you ultimately do, the initiative that you take in the world, right? What you're actually going to be doing. So here's the payoff. When you're doing things that you are not proud of, when you are doing things that you think like, I don't understand why I'm not taking more action. I don't understand why I keep beating myself up. I don't understand why I keep getting in fights with the people that I love. I don't understand why I can't stay more persistent towards my goals. If that ever happens, just take a pause and go, you know what? I need to think about what is happening here. Because it's the way that you're perceiving in the world that is controlling how much you progress in the world, right? And a lot of people, when they're having negative behavior, they just think it's happening to them. And I say, oh, let's just step it back. Okay, you were mean to your husband, okay? You found like you were really short with them. Where did that come from? And then we can just step it back. How are you feeling about yourself in that circumstance or that situation that led this way? What happened? What did your husband do? What did he not do? And how did you interpret it? And ultimately, what did you see or not see and experience? I know it sounds so basic, but try it. If you can work this through on a couple of different examples from your recent past, just think about those times when you really struggled or you didn't feel good, go through this, write it down, journal it, and you'll start to feel a lot more understanding about who you are and how your mind works.
Vision decision. You have to own the vision decision. You have to be open to it. You have to be adaptable with it, but you've got to be the most committed person on the team, in the organization, in the culture, in the family. You've got to be the person who holds that thing together, who's entrusted with that. I always say leaders are really entrusted with service. They're entrusted with the vision. And as they're entrusted with that vision, they're also relied upon to make the hard decisions. What's some of the hardest decisions you ever made in your life? Like the hardest decisions you ever made in your life. Could be in any area, your relationships, your finances, your career. What are some of the hardest decisions you've ever made? If you think about those hard decisions that you made, those hard decisions ultimately were made because you had a different vision at that moment. You didn't like where things were. You wanted to go in a different direction, and you bought into a vision of how things needed to be different. Whether that was from like depletion, you were just exhausted, tired, didn't like it. Whether it was from a place of just like, oh, I recognize all the problems here, or I know there's a better solution, or it was highly aspirational for your future. You bought into a different vision and you made a decision from that vision. Well, I share that with you because part of the principle here of vision decision is to be aware, oh, your whole team is making hard decisions based on the vision. You're going to have to make hard decisions based on the vision. So here's a tough question. What the heck is the vision? What is it that you are after? What is it that you collectively want to move towards, want to achieve? And it doesn't have to be some pie in the sky forever, 100-year out vision. It might be a 3-month out vision. It might be a 6-month out vision. But if you're not crystal clear about that decision with that vision with yourself, what will happen is, as people support what they create, as you open those ears, as you have those other conversations, you'll be unmoored to the beliefs, the values, and the direction that you want to go. You'll lose yourself in the noise. And this is the number one thing I see great leaders do to fail. They lost themselves in the noise. So much noise from the stakeholders, so much noise from the shareholders, so much noise in social media, the bad article written about them, the people trying to cancel culture them. They lose their foundation of their vision of themselves and their future, and they start becoming a ghost, fully adaptable and flexible into everything else everybody else wants. And now what they really are is a vessel carrying everybody else and everything else without that command level internally of, oh, I am in charge of this. If you read the Motivation Manifesto, you get the ethos of this, right? Every morning, you got to get up, you got to pick up that spear of purpose, you got to cast it as far as you can see it today. Throw that spear of purpose as far as you can today, as far as you can. And then your day is to go march towards that spear with so much commitment, so much discipline, so much resilience that then you get that spear, you get to throw it out as far as you can again. That is having the vision, and that is having the discipline to go get it. The interesting thing is you have to take that outside of your head. You probably have a clearer vision for what's important to you than your wife does, than your partner does, than your friends do, than your family does. And so a huge part of the vision principle is you've got to communicate it more. You got to help everybody see what that vision ends up being, where they participated or they didn't, depending on your timing. And now it's like, oh, this is the thing we're rallying around. This is the spear. I'm going to throw it. We're going to go together. Okay, great. Let's go. And that command of the vision is what I mean by the vision decision. It doesn't mean other people didn't participate in it, but you own it. You own it. The big part about it is your life's decisions, whether you are conscious or unconscious throughout your life, your life's decisions were leading to a vision. And today's a good opportunity to say, is this the vision? Is this what I wanted? Or did I not know what I wanted? Did I just go along the ride with everybody else and do what everyone else told me my whole life? Or did I architect this? Was I thoughtful about what the decision was, what I was after? Today's a good day to look at the vision you have for your life and ask, does it match what your reality is today?
To me, civil leadership is speaking up and acting. Speaking up and acting for the safety, rights, opportunities, equality, and freedoms of our fellow humans, of our fellow citizens, of those in our communities and our nations. Speaking up and acting, two things, right? Activating voice and taking actions. Holy wow, is that scary right now? Who's found that scary, knowing what to say or how to support each other? You know? Who's had to make the decisions of, do you go and protest, and do you let your kids go protest? Who's had to make the decisions of, do I respond to this post I feel so infuriated by? Do I support this, or can I do enough? Who's wondered if you've done enough? I've spent 20 years in this. I'm wondering if I do enough. Genuinely. And so I want to let you know, I understand that it's hard, but civil leadership is speaking up and it is taking action. And I'm specific about what I mean when I say that. Safety, rights, opportunities, equality, freedom. Safety, rights, opportunities, equality, and freedoms. That's what we're ultimately after when we use the phrase civil leadership. I'm not here to say everyone's after that, but you have to understand that is happening in the world right now. And whether you participate or you don't, we need to understand what is happening so that we can either be good contributors or learn something about ourselves, because we need guidance through all of this. And you can guide yourself and you can guide your family and your community members through this if you choose to. And my job as a coach, I'm always going to push you towards courage. I want to frame this right off the bat today. My job as your coach, I'm always going to push you towards courage. I'm not going to get all the words right. I might not stand for what you stand for. I might not include everything under the sun as a comprehensive analysis in a 90-minute session here today, or 2-hour session. But I, as a coach, I'm always going to push you towards courage, whatever that means for you. I'm going to push you outside that comfort zone to confront your biases, to confront the things that hold you back, to confront things that contribute to systematic problems, to confront your own behavior that's hurting your ability to have abundance or joy or connection with others. So I'm going to let you know right off the bat, as we jump into civil leadership, I'll have that conversation about courage with you.
You want to accelerate learning? Here it is. Goals, deadlines, deliverables. I know that's so basic. That's personal development 101. Just most people have never applied it to learning. In high school, I want to learn French. You can just show up to French class once a week or 3 times a week and just consume. But unless it changes when you say, my goal is to learn conversational French because I'm going to Paris in 4 months. So in that 4 months, I want to be able to introduce myself, ask where a restaurant is, ask where a bathroom is, get around town and visit these specific places and ask for clarification and ask people if they speak English and ask where I should go. Now I got a structure. To learn French is philosophy level. To learn French at this level is the science. This is the science of learning. You've got to get more clear about your learning goals. What do you want to learn specifically? By when? And what is the thing that you can do, the output or the deliverable, that shows that you learned it? Without these 3 things detailed, you are learning slow. And this is what most people do. I like to learn about this thing. They buy 5 books on Amazon, 1 of which they read. They spend 1 random weekend downloading a TED Talk or, getting sucked into YouTube. But there was no goal. This is the architecture of learning. Would you write that down? This is the architecture. This is the foundation. Without this, you are just browsing. Let me say that again. Without this, you are browsing. You're not learning. Real learning requires this first and foremost. Write this down. Without goals, deadlines, and deliverables, you are browsing. You are not learning. And that's why most people are struggling. They're only browsing. They're only browsing. They're only reacting. They live a life of browsing, reacting, browsing, reacting, browsing, reacting. Without that goal, without that strive, that thing to go for, we're just going to meander forever. But we can't advance learning if we're meandering. Listen, you learn a lot by wandering. I love curiosity. I love walking around. But remember, I promised this was a session about advanced learning. This is not just about general conception and just like hoping to be inspired. Advanced learning requires a goal, a deadline, a deliverable. If you want more wealth, you have to learn to exceed expectations and add new value. Notice it doesn't say add value, add new value. Okay, so first part, at your job or in your career, you need to exceed expectations. And we live in a culture right now, which really, I know is for many of you who are older, it's really hard to understand that many people say, I'm just going to do what I'm paid for. Only going to do what I'm paid for, won't do anything more. And that's a very big cultural thing, especially in the United States right now. It's like, I only do what I'm paid for. Who are you? What right do you have, boss or society, to ask me to do more than you're paying me for? And I'm like, ooh, that's poor thinking. That's bad thinking. That's going to get you in trouble, because you know what that's going to mean? It just means you're always going to get paid for what you do, and only for what you do. So if you're happy with your pay, do that forever. You don't deserve any more unless you go beyond the expectations or the dollar value of what you're doing. That's so hard for people to get. And people, I don't like that. I'm like, I don't know. That's adding value, doing your best, stretching yourself. Now, the criticism, which I think is appropriate, comes down to being when that turns into burnout culture in companies, where the company's paying you a certain amount, or they're paying you less than another person would get paid because they lack diversity, or they're paying genders different things than you're getting paid. That's a whole different conversation politically than what we're having here. We're talking about you and what you control. And you're either going to be a person who builds wealth because you believe, I'm going to exceed expectations here so I can be rewarded with promotions. Or I'm just going to stay here. I'm going to do the same thing like a robot all the time, and I'm only going to do what they're paying me for. And I say this both having been an employee and an employer of hundreds of people. I really believe this gets a lot of people in trouble because they want career growth, they want promotion, but they're not willing to do anything beyond their level of pay. And I grew up in a culture where I saw my dad and my mom go way beyond what their job description was, way beyond what they were getting paid. Why? Because when they were at work, they were going to be their best, whether they got paid or not. That's what they taught me. Hey, you be your best. You do your best. You do great work. Doesn't matter what you're getting paid. You're there. And if you agreed to be there, you signed the contract. You raised your hand. You took the job. You agreed to be there. Do not diminish yourself because of the pay. Can I get an amen on a weekday here? Do not diminish yourself because of pay. I will say it 1,000,000 times. Do not diminish yourself because of pay, because you will lock yourself into a low level of not only income, you will lock yourself into a low level of living because you're diminishing yourself because you're not getting the exact external reward you desire. That's going to ruin you in life, because think about how that plays out in real life in other areas. Think about your relationships. Think about a marriage as an example. If you're only going to do what you are paid in return by the other person, think about how poisonous that is. I'm only going to love them equal to exactly how they love me. That relationship is going to die. Well, the same thing in careers. Careers die all the time because people go, no, I'm only going to do what I'm paid for. Some of you guys know I had a blessing of working with Paula Abdul when she was on American Idol. And she had this saying that I just loved when she was working with the kids. She would often tell them, hey, there's no traffic beyond the extra mile. Go the extra mile. There's no traffic there. Less competition. And go faster. Go the extra mile. You got freedom out there. You're not clogged up with everybody else.
And I love that. It was about exceeding expectations. And if you want your company, I know maybe you're entrepreneurs or business owners or managers, if you are in a place where you want your company to perform better in the marketplace, especially in a capitalistic marketplace, well, you have to exceed expectation. You can't just give them like the thing that they're buying, because then you're just a commodity. What they want is something extra. They want to be surprised by what you delivered. That's exceeding expectations. When they're surprised by what you deliver, you have raving fans, repeat customers, higher average order values, greater lifetime value. They stay longer, so less churn. In every business metric possible, when your customer satisfaction, they say that you've exceeded their expectations, your company succeeds. In fact, there's literally entire books and areas of study about this that have found year over year, culture after culture, all around the globe in every different industry. If a company only meets expectations, they fail. You have to exceed expectations. It is a mindset of the most extraordinary people I've ever met. They're like, how do we make this better? Right? The biggest business titans you ever studied, whether you liked them or not, they looked at the thing and said, this thing sucks. I'm going to make it better. Right? Steve Jobs with the iPhone going, phones suck. I'm going to exceed all the customers' expectations with what this phone can do. Now, whether you like the guy or not, it's like, wait, that led to one of the biggest companies in the history of the world. And you can go right down the list of all the big companies in the world and go, you know what? They innovated. They didn't just do the thing. They exceeded expectations. Then they added something new. So if you have a job, how can you add something new onto your plate, take on a new responsibility that shows the people around you that you're adding value, that takes care of the customer, that helps the company grow? Your job isn't to do just the minimal at work. If you just do the minimal at work, you will get paid the minimal. Like the good news, logic works there, doesn't it? So your job is to go, okay, here's the work, here's the job. How can I add new value in all of our research, in all of our coaching, and all of our training across literally millions of people from 190 different countries? Like those who don't add new value, not only do they not succeed over the long term in every measurable way, they're less happy because their life grew stale. And how many of you would equate staleness with living and experiencing a richness of life? Got it? Add new value.
I was officially diagnosed with ADHD as an adult 6 years ago, and so I know I've had it all my life. I'm curious if you have any tips or words of advice for someone whose brain doesn't work like everybody else's.
Yes.
I mean, distraction is a huge problem. Discipline is a huge problem. Focus is a huge problem. What do you got?
Got it. Give us Jeff. Was it Jeff? Give him a round of applause. So good.
I'm gonna come out here.
Nice meeting you, man.
Somebody take a picture of me
Matt,
with him.
good job. I bet someone has a phone. Nice meeting you, man. Now, you talked to a doctor?
Yes, I have.
Tell me what they told you.
They said
You're
that
talking this so they can hear you.
They said that I have adult ADHD. Yes.
Uh-huh. And what do they suggest to you?
I take medication for it.
Okay.
And also try to meditate and get more sleep and better sleep and things like that. Adjust my environment, but that doesn't work.
Do you have family?
Yes, I do.
What do you got?
I have a wife and a 19-year-old son and a 17-year-old daughter.
How's your relationship with them?
With my kids, it's great. The last 2 years with my wife has been rough. We've been married for 24 years, together for 29.
Wow.
It's
amazing. Absolutely. It's amazing.
I started my business. I'm a speaker and a coach, and
awesome.
I started my business 2.5 years ago. gross household income, whenever that happened, went to a third of what it was the day before. That's put a magnifying glass on
Other things.
on our relationship. So
Sure.
this morning's talk was phenomenal. I mean,
Thanks, man.
Can't wait to get home. I got the golden ticket. Look.
Who's going to show your framework to your partner or spouse when you go, hey, look at this? So let's talk about the focus. Let's talk about the discipline. Let's talk about the distraction. Who in the room does not have diagnosed ADHD, but also focus, distraction, discipline is a major issue for you? Can you look around the room? Okay.
My people.
So let's... And by the way, first and foremost, please recognize the number of people who raised your hands. Would you all raise your hands again? This is the human condition. You're not broken. There's nothing wrong with you. You beat yourself up expecting to be amazing. So when you see a sea of people from 40 countries raise their hand and go, oh, I too have focus and discipline, it's hard for me, I want you to feel good about that. I want you to go, oh man, I'm really hard on myself. No breakthrough is going to come from more judgment. No breakthrough is going to come from more judgment. What the breakthrough is going to come from is another level of self-love and demand. Now, many of us in our lives, who's ever had a sudden demand placed on you and you kicked for like weeks? Now, keep your hand high if you were also one prone to lack of discipline and focus, but you still kicked. That was necessity. That's demand. We need something bigger than our impulses to keep us focused. We need something bigger than how we feel to keep us disciplined. When we talk about service and we talk about dreams and we talk about mission, the truth of that really is we need that North Star to get us out of our funks. We need that North Star to get us out of bed. We need that North Star and a connection to it to organize ourselves. I don't think we have to solve, I have a focus problem, because you know what? I bet your focus problem is one reason your clients think, this guy's pretty creative. I bet you come up with a lot of different solutions and tools and frameworks that help people.
Oh yeah.
Oh yeah? Like you're
Lots
good at
of weird.
It's a wonderful thing. Now what we just have to do is have that why, that thing that's going to organize you. And I think you told us a little about it. You know, transformation often starts with truth. And what's the truth that will happen if you don't handle this a little better? Because it sounds like we're already having some repercussions.
Oh yeah.
What do you think that, what is that ultimate truth that you don't want to happen that would if we don't get this handled a little better?
Oh, I'm gonna lose my college sweetheart who took my breath away the first time I met her. It's scary.
So with that emotion now, tell me why you're not going to let that happen.
I guess because I can't.
Why won't you let it happen?
Why won't I let?
What's so important about her and you two together?
She's all I've ever known. I was 19 years old. And we, despite my best efforts, raised two amazing kids. I'm not sure how we did that, but I tried like hell to screw them up, but it didn't work.
Who wants to hang out on Saturday night with Matt? Sometimes discipline, sometimes distraction is really a disconnection on a daily basis of what matters. We're creating weird, but not saying, what's important for me today to ensure I don't screw up this relationship and this life? What matters today? What matters today? Not what big ideas, not what matters today for me to save this thing, for me to contribute to this thing. Because that why, listen, everybody in this room, you had a demand on yourself. And the hardest thing about high performers and coaches, especially those who are creative, either that demand gets put on us or we have to find and access that demand with purpose, service, saving a relationship, being a better role model for the kids. I'm not so worried about you being distracted during the day. I'm worried about you having disconnected mornings from what matters. I need you to have that morning of connection with what matters. I need you to sit there and carve the time to go, let me meditate on why I love her so much, on why I will fight for her so much, on why I will be a good role model for these kids. Because you're the one who has to put that demand on yourself. Not fear it will happen over here, but to put the demand on ourselves in the morning. And it's not comfortable because no one loves that demand. But if you don't put it on yourself on the daily, you lose the week. And then you say, I'm unfocused. Nah, you didn't put the demand on yourself on the daily. It's why even me, a very unfocused guy, I have that card, who needs me on my A game? I look at that every day. Before I work, who needs me on my A game? And I know that if I'm not on my A game, people get hurt. My family gets hurt, my team gets hurt, and I won't let that happen. And I feel that emotion, that strength in you. You won't let it happen either. You won't let it happen. Not if you touch it every day. Not if you did what we just did. Right. Not if you go, I will not lose her. She means the world to me. These kids who I didn't screw up, God bless them. Let me earn them now. Because you know what? Maybe they're so good to make you start earning them now. You know?
The worst thing a parent can ever do is to believe that their kids expect perfection from them. What your kids expect is engagement, not perfection. What they're inspired by is engagement, not perfection. We're the ones telling ourselves stories that the kids need to see us perfect. And when I deal with this, and I deal with this a lot in high performance coaching, I get an executive who's got a new parent, who's a new parent at the same time, and she's judging herself because she's so busy and she's not being a great parent. She thinks she should be perfect. I'm like, how old is your toddler? Oh, so-and-so months, or, in 1 year, 2, 3, or whatever. I say, oh, okay. I say, so you think that you need to be perfect for this little animal that is pooping itself all day long. Now, where did that come from? You think you have to be perfect? That is not what that little being is expecting of you. You got to rewire yourself, because you're going to develop so much self-hatred for not being perfect that it will stunt you and it will stunt your child's growth. Engage, do your best, have a good attitude, and don't worry about the outcome being perfect, but get in there. And so I think it's important for us to realize, is there any problem in your life that you've just been not looking at and avoiding?
Long-term wealth requires ever-increasing competency. What you know now won't get you there. You're gonna have to get new knowledge, skill, ability, and talent to go to the next level. Even if you luck into a ton of money, you're gonna have to get more competent on what to do with the money. Dealing with finances is a skill that you can learn. Show me where you make money. What do you do to make money? And I go, oh, well, I have this job, or I have this type of business. I say, okay, what's the skill there that you have that you think is driving your pay? What's the primary, if you had to narrow it down to 1, 2, or 3 skills that's driving your primary pay, and if you enjoyed that skill, go deeper. I went to a bunch of seminars on how to enhance my public speaking. I invested in hiring coaches. I invested in taking classes and tutorials on how to operate all this gear by myself. These are skills that you can develop. And as you learn to develop more skills, it's easier to exceed expectations and add new value. I think skill development is way underrated. What we have now is we have a browsing-based culture versus a mastery-driven culture.
When you switch from I'm a browser, right? I'm going to use this phone all day like this, and I'm going to input a million random things that mean nothing to me whatsoever, to I'm going to use this thing to deeply study something that will develop my skill, my capabilities, so I can build better, serve better, lead better, change, add value. When this becomes a tool of study versus just selfies or distraction, now you're on the right path to wealth. Now you're on the right path to wealth. This is so important. I would say one of the fundamental problems in our culture right now, worldwide, is that most people invest their time in consumerism, shopping, or in entertainment, just absorbing, taking it in, and very few in active development of skill. And skill can be communication, conflict management, negotiation, leadership, influence, like soft skills, or hard skills, like coding, like building something, like designing, like creating something, like actually executing a process or behavior, like athleticism, like something where you're just developing that over and over. The mastery mindset is a path to wealth. The mastery mindset is a path to wealth. When we invest in our skill development over a period of time, we're more capable of adding new value, exceeding expectations, going to the next level. And as we go to the next level in those areas, we tend to get paid more. That's important. What's the primary drivers of how you get paid today? What are the major skills? How can you develop them? Get way better at them. Way better at them. I had to learn that in every area, from online marketing to email marketing, to influencing, to teaching, to running the gear, to running the company, to how to deal with employees, to how to build up the finances of a company. Like, I don't know how to do any of that coming out of a broke mining town. But what I said is, I want to be able to serve at the highest levels. So what skills do I need to learn? When I was an author and I was broke, I said, what skills do I need to learn? Okay, well, one skill for me is writing a book. So I'm going to study how to write well. So I studied and studied and studied how to write well. Great. That's one skill though, isn't it? And I'd look at these other authors. I said, well, how are they so rich? How are they wealthy? Well, it turned out a lot of them were on the road speaking. And as they spoke more, people bought more books. And I was like, well, that's a virtuous loop. Okay, so if I can learn to become a teacher and a speaker, then people buy more books. And well, I want to be a writer who sustains my life as a writer. That was my goal. Okay, I guess I could add that skill, which would support the finances over here. It was an adjacent skill that served the main goal for me. Okay, well, I hate speaking. I don't like it. But I was like, well, why don't I like it? Well, because I don't know how to do it. I'm uncomfortable doing it. Well, I was uncomfortable riding a bike. I didn't know how to do that. Well, let me try. Let me put some training wheels on. Let me learn to speak. So I started speaking and teaching myself time, energy, investment of my heart and my soul to speak. And I was literally speaking to myself in a room, walking around, wearing out my carpet, just teaching myself to talk out loud about topics for long periods of time. You know, it's like, okay, figure out how to do that. Then I was like, okay, I need to get in some practice. I need to get in front of some audiences. So I'd start doing it in classes. I'd volunteer to give my report out. Or when it was time to give a report out, I'd put some flourish on it, man. And I just thought, okay, I'm going to keep getting better. I'm going to keep trying to get in front of more and more audiences and bigger. I'll speak free. I don't care. I just need to run the reps to gain the skill so I can become good at it. Because I saw speaking as an adjacent way to serve people beyond just my writing. So that was an entire skill that I built up from scratch with no natural talent or ability. In fact, more fear. And so it was like, okay, but that's going to serve over here. Let me see if I can do it. And let me see if I enjoy it. And of course, once I got over the fears and I saw the impact beyond me with people, I was like, wow, that really made a difference in a person's life who might not read my book. Wow, this is just another vehicle for me to make my difference. I thought it had to be about book writing. I was like, oh, but I can make a difference this way too. Huh. And I can enjoy this too. Huh. And if I hadn't done that, we wouldn't even be here right now. If I hadn't learned to run a camera by myself, because I'm in a room by myself. I don't know if you can tell, like this is a real room. I'm here by myself running all this gear. Like it's just me. And so I had to figure out like, well, how do I do that? How do I do the lighting? Right before we began, literally with the team, we were adjusting the camera and they're watching on Zoom. I'm like, how about here? What do you think about that? Like trying to figure out all these little things without knocking everything down. And if I hadn't learned that, we wouldn't be here. So I would also say I wouldn't have reached the scale in my own career. As you scale up your competencies, you scale up the likelihood you will build wealth.
I'd like to talk about this concept I call identity themes. It's that, we all have an identity about who we are and what's possible for us. And sometimes we struggle, though, to figure out how do I need to look at myself and my life so I can reach that next level. So what I found is there's 6 primary themes that run through all of our lives and our identity that really shapes who we are today. And if we can look at each of these 6 areas and discover how have you been viewing yourself as a person, then we might be able to change it so that it will help you progress even faster in life. The first identity theme that can really move the needle for you is the identity theme of I'm deserving. Do you feel deserving of love? Do you feel deserving of abundance? Do you feel deserving of joy? Do you feel like you deserve to be happy? I know those are basic questions, but I can share with you, so many people don't. But they've never really thought about it. They've never seen like, gosh, so many parts of my life, I didn't feel like I deserved anything good, so I never worked towards anything good. So many parts of my life, I didn't feel like I was adequate or worthy, so I never put myself out there and tried new things. And if there's ever a point in your life where you decide, you know what, I do deserve that. I deserve some good things in my life. I hope you'll do it now. Some people, they develop that as a mantra. They literally say, you know what, I deserve happiness now. I deserve joy now. I deserve to feel better now. And when you can say that, I deserve something, you're sort of calling it from the universe. You're phoning it in. The universe is saying, oh, wait, oh, hey, she's ready. As soon as you make that turn in your identity, I'm deserving, things open up for you. The second area that people really struggle with, and I think can really be the changing day in your life, is I'm ready. I'm ready to take this next action. I'm ready for the transition. I'm ready for the good things in my life right now. Are you ready? And are you committed to that? I work with a lot of Olympians, and a lot of the time when you're doing their conditioning, their mental conditioning for it, when you get them on the line, like a sprinter as an example, like I'll get an Olympic class sprinter on the line and I'll sit down, I'll be talking to him about what he's about to go do. And the ones who feel ready, boom, they're like a bolt, they're out of there. The ones who like, you know what, I didn't train enough. I should have done this, I should have done that, I'm not really ready, they always lose the race. The person who believes they're ready wins the race. Next, do you feel capable? In your identity, throughout your life, have you felt capable? Like, I got this. Like you had the competency and the confidence to do something. Really think about it. If you thought about the whole span of your life, have you thought, I got this. I can figure this out. And ultimately, capability, it's just a mental contraption. You just decide one day, you're like, okay, I don't know how it might turn out, but I know I'm going to work towards making it turn out positive. I know I'm going to figure it out. And frankly, do the work. If you don't feel capable, I say, you know what? Go study. I don't feel capable. Go interview people to figure out how they did. I don't feel capable. Read books on that topic. It's okay if you don't feel capable. Do the work to become capable. The next one is, as you're marching towards all of this, can you have an identity that is open? Are you open to learning? What's the next level opening for you? I'm going to open my mind again to my spouse, not believe I know what they're going to do. I'm going to open my mind to see who they really are and what they really want now. Not what happened last month or 4 months ago. I'm going to be open in this moment. Presence comes from an openness and awareness and a mindfulness to this moment. So as you open your presence, you open to the world. Another identity theme is persistence. Do you feel like you've been a persistent person throughout your life? And again, it's okay if you haven't. Any of these, it's okay if I'm going through these and you're like, geez, Brendon, I've been off my game for a couple years. That's okay. That's why we're here. We're here to do the work, to start the new identity, to start the new habits and start the new desires of your life to move forward. So it's okay if you haven't, but if you have been persistent, you know that those who are persistent, they get all the rewards of life. It's so easy to give up, but you need to persist through the rejection, the turmoil, the chaos, the fear. If you just keep going, you'll develop those skills, you'll develop those capabilities, and you'll develop the identity that says, I got this too. And then the last one, and I've never seen an identity theme that's so powerful in people's lives, ever. When I think about the most successful and the most fulfilled, the most joyous, happy people I know, they have this identity theme. And they work on it a lot. And their identity theme is that they see themselves as a role model. They see themselves as a role model for their kids. They see themselves as a role model for their neighbors. They see themselves as a role model in the community. And so they end up having usually more virtue or more values that are demonstrated to people. They have a different level of character. And those who want to be a role model, they end up being those who get promoted. They end up being those ones who think about the things they're communicating to their kids. They're the ones who, when everyone's volunteering, they kind of gather around that person because that person ends up being a little bit more of the leader because they had that intention to say, I want to be attentive to my behaviors and my energy and how that is coming across to other people because I want to be a good person for them. And so if you haven't had that identity theme for a while, this is a great time to take that in. Think about the habits you've had in your life that are good and that are bad, and really think about how they have affected your life and who you view yourself as today. So for example, a habit you might have had in the past, you might say, well, Brendon, I smoke. I'll say, well, how has that affected your identity and how you feel about yourself? Now, maybe you say, well, I feel like because I smoke, I'm not a healthy person. I can't be healthy. Maybe that's true for you. And if that is, you should know that. See, all our habits really affect us. Our routines, the things that we continually do, they affect how we view ourselves. And all of them stack up to either we're proud of ourselves or we're not. We're confident or we're not. We're sad or we're happy. So I'd love for you to just take some time to figure out, well, what are the main habits of your life that have really shaped your identity? That is how you feel about yourself. So some of these habits could be things like, well, my habit is I run every Monday, Wednesday, and Friday. I'm a jogger. And so that makes me feel very healthy, right? Or we might move into your relationships. Because see, we have habits in all different parts of our lives. We have habits in our health, we have habits in our relationships, we have habits in our career, we have habits in our spirituality, all the areas we spoke about earlier. And those habits are either setting us up to win and feel good about ourselves, or they're making us feel worse about ourselves. So take the time, write down what are your positive and negative habits, and then write down what could be more empowering habits for you.
Visualization. I don't know when it started. I don't have a tremendous amount of memory. Some of you know, before high school and middle school, my accident when I was 19 years old really scrambled my brains. So some of you can remember a lot in high school and middle school and elementary. I'm one of those people, tremendous trouble accessing a lot of that, and just from a brain injury. And so I don't remember where it started, but I do remember at that time, somewhere in there, I would just lay in bed and visualize things. I'd see things. I'd think about going to school that day, and I would visualize things that would happen at school. Sometimes just fictional things, here I am walking up to that girl I like. We're having a great conversation. We're making out at my locker. Never happened. Don't worry. But they're not all visual. I'm not the law of attraction guy, because I would have made out with all the girls in high school. Didn't happen. Just letting you know, law of attraction, screw you, didn't work. You got to actually talk to people. Anyway, I think that I developed this capacity to visualize and see things. And some of them were make-believe stories. And some of them were just imagining how a situation would go. And to this day, including this morning, when I wake up, I lay in bed and I just kind of see what was maybe already playing out. If it was a dream, I just try to visualize and see what's happening there. Or as soon as I become conscious and I start thinking about the day, I imagine the day. I imagine what's on the docket for today. I don't look at my calendar. I don't look at my phone. I just, I see something and I imagine it going really well. And so as I see it and I imagine it going well, I also see it going terrible and how I would deal with it. Right. So today, I did not visualize this situation I had this morning. I actually visualized some travel. I have travel later on this afternoon. And so I was thinking, okay, I have to travel today. I want to have a calm energy as I pack, because usually I'm packing 90 miles an hour and I'm all frenetic getting out of the house. I don't want to do that. Okay, I'm going to be on that. I'm going to be in a car ride today. So I'm seeing myself in the car. I'm talking to some people. All right, I'm going to call some family and friends today in the car ride over to the airport. And I'm visualized. Or sometimes it's not, the dream or the day. I've been stewing on a big goal or dream, something big upcoming. Maybe it's a huge stadium speech, or maybe I'm going to talk with this particular, influencer in the world who I want to have a positive impact with. And I'll visualize that going well and not well. It's like if I was visualizing a marathon, I would visualize all the training up to it. I'd visualize that first starting kickoff point. I'd visualize mile 12 when my legs feel like they're going to fall off. I'd visualize watching people pass me and how I would feel about that and what I would tell myself in a positive way to keep running. I would visualize myself then finally hitting the finish line, celebrating it with it, going out that night, doing the ice bath, and waking up the next day feeling fulfilled. The whole life cycle of visualization is a habit for me. It changed my life. Don't visualize the win, visualize the whole life cycle of the activity. Pre, during, post. That's what most people miss in their visualizations. Most people don't actually visualize. They think about something briefly. Visualization is taking the time to think about an activity, a goal, or a dream, and walking it through in your mind, beginning to end. Not just the celebrations and good stuff, the hard stuff, what you'll tell yourself to survive, to thrive, to keep going on. Some people often hear the term visualization and they think that's not me. I don't visualize. And it's like, I don't care if you see it or not. I wish we had a different name for it. We call it imagination. It's a mental process of thinking through an activity, goal, or dream, pre, during, and post. The whole life cycle. All I want you to do, don't worry about if you can see everything perfectly. Like, learn to teach yourself to see things more visually, but don't think that is a component or a requirement of visualization. Let's just step back from it has to be insanely visual, because people, it's not very visual for me. That's fine. I want you to think through it. Let your brain do what it does. Whatever think through it means to you, I'm using the same language for visualization.
If you really want to accelerate it, you've got to make the practice every day, or at least every week. I always tell people, if you're trying to learn something, every day. When I was trying to learn online marketing, every day I was studying a course. Every day I was watching a video. I mean, like every day for, I would say 3 years, I was taking some online marketing course for 3 years, every day. I want you to, every day. In that 3 years, I went from broke, literally in the verge of bankruptcy, to earning at the end of that third year, I'd made over $4 million. Broke. Never did an online marketing, never set up a web page, never shot a video, never sent an email, didn't know how to do any of that. 3 years every day studying online marketing. 3 years every day. But also what I was doing, I was part of a community. I hired a mentor by basically taking their course and signing up for their coaching program. And I just stayed in it. And every day I studied, every day. And I think many of you could have gotten, similar or better results in a shorter amount of time. It took me 3 years every day till I finally was like, I think I really get this. 3 years every day before I had like that. Yeah, I think I really get this. All right. I didn't struggle with the esteem part. I always said, I can figure this out. But I know about myself. It takes me a little longer to learn than the average person. And I don't get discouraged. I just go, okay, I understand that about myself. But if I want to advance it, you can't dabble. You must immerse yourself. You must get committed. You must invest in yourself. You must dive in and make it part of your life. I did that in every area, from finances to health, to relationships, to running a business. All of those things I learned. That's why you all know every single day I read for at least an hour. I tend to have about 2.5 hours of block time a day for learning. And that learning might be a call to ask and interview somebody. That learning might be reading something. That learning might be something, and this is outside my normal job, right? This is just calling, asking, interviewing, researching, reading, just absolutely every day to this day, including Saturdays and Sundays. Learning is a part of my life. And I don't say that makes me fancy. I just know I need that much. That's my style. Maybe some of you can do it once a week because you're smart. And it's easier for you to go like, hey, Brendon, I do. I know people who can learn 4 or 5 times faster than me just natively. It's just a personal individual intelligence they have. They can really absorb. Their memory's better than mine. I've had 2 brain injuries. My memory sucks. So I gotta hear it a couple times for me to really break through. Everyone's got their different things. So this is, again, not a braggadocious session. It's like, it took me 3 years every day.
In the short term, we tend to value as humans judgment. And I think I spelled it right. Judgment. The biggest issue with judgment is this. You make judgments all the time and you can't help it. Our automatic sort of system, one level of thinking is just like immediate bias, immediate judgment, immediate framing, immediate good, bad, right? Now, later, healthy, not healthy, safe, unsafe. We have these immediate judgments that drive our life, right? Move towards, move away from, right? Approach, avoid. It's literally built within us that we make immediate, spontaneous judgments. That was to protect us. That was part of that evolutionary impulse to make sure we survive. The issue is we have a bunch of judgmental brats running around the world, causing havoc, spreading hate, spreading darkness, because it's also really fun to demonstrate and portray and to publicize our judgments. Right? How fun is it to go on and comment, well, that's a stupid video, hate your shirt, you suck, you're fat, you don't know anything, who do you think you are? And we, as a society now, have become little, thumb warriors, passing our judgment in comment sections all the time. And what's happened is many people, these two things have come together to create an incredibly negative society and a negative, unhealthy life, right? I know that's not in this community, but I know in this community, how many of you guys know this to be true? That a lot of people judge you the more you go for it. A lot of people judge you the more you take a risk that they don't understand. The more people judge you when you shun this and you move towards that. Right? It's difficult to be a front runner. It's hard to be the high performer. It's hard to be the person who raises their hand and says, I want more, I'm ready to go for it, I'd like to help more, because people judge that. They think, well, who do you think you are? And enough people tell you, who do you think you are? Guess what you do? You shut down and you start making short-term goals. Many of you grew up in incredibly critical and negative environments. And here I am to tell you, after coaching people for this many years, I have learned and seen that if there was a pattern in your youth where it was always critical, always judgmental, and negative, over and over and over and over again, you tend to develop an over-evaluative system for stability and self-protection. And so what you end up doing, because you think, oh, well, something's wrong with me, you don't seek to build team. oh, well, every time I want to do something, I get judged, you stop pursuing things that are fulfilling. Because you're hurt all the time, you start taking those simple pleasures to make yourself better, feel better, and you compromise your health. And I'm not saying this from a person knowing you specifically. I'm speaking to this obviously in a group coaching environment, but I have worked with so many people who have incredibly unhealthy habits today because they never realized that they developed short-term valuation strategies to protect themselves from judgment that hit them in their youth. So today, they keep making short-term decisions for themselves, and they don't know why. It's like, I don't know why, Brendon. I can't seem to, plan for the long term. Because you were hurt so much when you were younger, you started being protective in the short term and stopped thinking long term. That you stopped thinking that you were even worth it. So why pursue things that would make you feel really happy? You don't deserve happiness because this person told you you're. This stuff is real, and it happens for people over and over and over. I grew up in a town where, for me, like even just at its physical safety level, like I grew up in a very, very anger-fueled, aggressive town and city. There was a time of my dad's life when he was very, very, very strong because he was a military guy, right? Like he was a Marine. And so very short discipline, and it just makes you on your edge, right? And guess what? When you're on your edge to protect yourself all the time from your neighbors, the community, people around you, when you're on your edge all the time, what are you doing? You're like this, short term. And some people don't know, they've never taken the blinders off. Like you're safe now, but you're still thinking short term when you're trying to protect yourself. Make sense? A lot of people have that. They have safety now. They really do. They got great spouses, great partners, a good paycheck, life is good, but they're still completely unhappy because everything is short-term protection, and they don't realize those blinders for short-term were put on when they were younger. And so what I have to do is bring that to your awareness to say, if you've always been a short-term thinker, does that stem from you protecting yourself? And that might be a good place to explore, right? A good place to do some personal development, a good place to talk with your coach or with your therapist about, to go like, I've always been a short-term thinker. Why is that? And I've just noticed that correlation personally, working with really top performers who started making bad decisions in the short term. I work with an Olympian who everyone knew was going to win the Olympics 4 years later. And instead, they completely self-destruct for 3 years. And they couldn't figure it out. Why couldn't they have a 4-year view? All they had to do is look for 4 years out and have gold medal. Instead, they destroyed themselves, because all they've ever been doing was protecting themselves. And when all you're doing is protecting yourselves, you can't see 4 years from now. You're trying to get through this week, man, this day, this hour. Make sense? Something to explore about your unconscious. I think the other element about it is we've gotten so practiced at passing judgment to other people that we have hurt relationships. I think that's something that we've lost patience as a society because everything's so quick serve that our relationships have become quickly judged. And if you keep overly judging things in the short term, sometimes to protect yourself or sometimes because you have a bias, but it's that judgment that we have that tends to really hurt key relationships, and that compromises our long-term growth, fulfillment, happiness. And so all these things obviously have a dynamic that they play together. And I also have to say that sometimes it's easy to judge somebody on the short term, but what we do is we hold judgment for the long term. And when judgment is held for the long term, it always becomes like that whole relationship, that whole person, that whole thinking becomes spoiled, like fruit left out for too long. That's what judgment is. Judgment is like that piece of fruit that's been left out so long that now it becomes poisonous. You see what I'm saying? And some of you are holding on to a judgment about somebody that happened 3 years ago. Some people 30 years ago. You're still upset about that? That still causes you to go into impulse control problems? Let me give you an example. Like sometimes people have judgment that like something happened to them 10 years ago. And what happened to them 10 years ago is still controlling the day to day. Even though that person isn't in their life, that situation is 10 years old, but they held on to the judgment about themselves and about that situation being unfair or unsafe. And so because I feel this way at that time, it's unfair and unsafe, then guess what? I'm angry, or I'm scared, or I'm unworthy. And the judgment of self perpetuated from a situation 10 years ago. And this is why some people never hit high performance. I know that sounds so weird to bring in because it feels like we're in a therapeutic conversation. I'm not a therapist. I've studied psychology for 20 years of my life. I've trained therapists in coaching situations, but I am not a therapist. And what I do understand from the work, though, is that so often our old judgments slow down our speed today, slow down our happiness, our joy, our abilities, our capabilities, our freedom. Some people are still caged from something that happened 10 years ago because they have not yet gotten the support they might need to overcome that judgment against that person, that situation, and themselves. Because it's always 3 levels deep, isn't it? It's always 3 things. We judge a situation, we judge the people in it, and we judge ourselves within it. And what people don't realize is often when all 3 of those judgments are negative somewhere in the past, I'm bad, they're bad, that situation was bad, and we don't have a long-term mental strategy to overcome that, then we go into short-term thinking again. And now we struggle to make good, healthy decisions for ourselves. And so what's the opposite of that? The opposite is what you guys probably could have guessed. It's forgiveness. It is the stuff of personal development. It is the stuff of psychology and therapy, but it is the stuff of spirituality too. And if we don't learn to let go or forgive ourselves or other people from past circumstances, then we are not free today. And when we are not free today, when we don't feel freedom today, we don't make long-term decisions. It's just the way it is. The more caged somebody is, naturally, in any situation or conversation, the more protectionist and short-term thinking they get. You want to learn better? Mentor others. Teach others. Coach others. Influence or inspire others. There is no question about this in all of the expertise gaining literature, that those who teach the thing that they are learning as they're going rapidly accelerate their performance. Why? Because they're forced to, right? Like when you are learning something and you simultaneously have to explain it to another person, it reconfigures it in your brain. It makes your brain understand the concept and then communicate and express it. It simplifies it. It's almost like a filter of learning. And so if you're learning French, simultaneously as you're learning French, teach somebody French, right? Like, here's what I learned in French today. Why don't you learn along with me? As you learn it and you express it or teach it, coach it, or mentor it, your capabilities and your competency goes like levels way beyond. I always tell, I'm just really great example, actually. That billionaire I was sharing with you, we're working with, their kids, 2 of them, pretty young, had not learned how to swim yet. And they had them in separate schedules of swim practice. I said, no. We got to get those kids at the same swim practice. And one was slightly ahead of the others. I'm saying, we got to have the other kid coaching this kid on what they're learning in their practice. We accelerated them so far. So they're like, even their swim coach was blown away. Like, Brendon, have you worked with a lot of Olympians in swimming? I said, no, that's usually not my space there. I've worked with them on mindset stuff. But he's like, but you've never taught them how to swim or you never did, lap trials and stuff like that? I said, no, but I knew if you put the kids in there and they have to learn together and explain it to each other, they'll learn faster. Blown away. Pair people up. Have one person learning, one person teaching, and vice versa, and the learning goes faster. The very first question that I might ask when someone tells me they want to quit something is I'm going to ask this question. Is this decision you're about to make strategy or discouragement? Meaning, are you thinking about quitting the thing because strategically you've thought through it and it's the right next bold move for you, your family, your career, your future? Or do you just feel discouraged? Right? Is it a logical thing, like you've sequentially thought this decision out, or do you just feel bad right now? Are you just discouraged because you've tried for a while and it's not turning out? Are you discouraged because you got some negative feedback? Are you discouraged because you got some rejected? Are you discouraged because you're disempowered in that relationship or that job or that career? And a place of discouragement is not the same as empowerment. And we have to be aware of that. But what I want to know at the very beginning of the conversation is just, where are we? Have you been thinking through this? This is the strategic right move for you and your family, your life, your career? Or are we just kind of in a fed up place, a hurt place, a discouraged place? Because some people, they don't need to quit the thing. They need to learn to manage their emotions. That's a very different thing. Because many people, they're in the right thing, but they're lacking that emotional connection or emotional intelligence to deal with the realities of it. I'll give you an example. I don't know who's ever had a hard job before. Like, it was hard and you were failing and you sucked, or maybe you started your own business and the first year, I mean, it was terrible. You felt like a failure the whole time. People are like, why are you doing that? Spending your time there. The neighbor's making fun of you, talking behind your back, and you're like trying to get it going and you're putting so much into it and it's not happening. It's discouraging. And you go, I'll quit this opportunity. I'm just going to quit this effort. I'm going to quit my dream. Well, the reality is maybe the dream was strategically the right decision. The opportunity was strategically a good bet. But what happened was you got emotionally hooked, and your feelings of how you're dealing with that difficulty made you make a decision to throw out the thing, when really, if it was the right thing, you needed to learn to manage your emotions better. In every relationship, there's going to be a time when it feels bad. In every new startup, every new entrepreneurial idea, every company, there'll be times when it just feels bad. That's life. The strategic mind has to say, okay, even though this feels bad, if I'm in the right place, can I learn to honor the struggle? Can I learn to turn that discouragement into curiosity or even interest? Can I learn to take that disempowering feeling and find a way to bring joy into this thing that right now kind of sucks? You know, I remember, and this applies at the most simplistic levels in our lives. It really does. How discouragement allows us to quit things. I'll give an example. Have any of you ever applied for a mortgage? Anyone ever gone through? How about any entrepreneurs? If you've been an entrepreneur and applied, if you're an entrepreneur and you've applied for a mortgage, that is a particular kind of hell. You know, they don't believe in you. They don't trust your income. You might earn more than your neighbor. They don't believe you. It's an awful process. I've been through it multiple times in my life. And every time I'm like, after the fifth call or the millionth request of a document that's stupid, I get discouraged. I get angry. I get fed up with it. I go, I'm out. Well, it's right for me to keep trying to get that mortgage for us to get the house. That's a strategic right decision. We chose the city, we chose the house, but I get discouraged in the process and I'm like, screw this. And I want to quit. And Denise, my wife, she's always like, it's just paperwork. We'll get through it. Let me help you with it, or let's do this. And she'll save the day. Because for me, paperwork is a lot of pain. So you see how that's so small as an example? Such a small, simple thing. You quit things that are just paperwork things to get you towards your dreams. Think about that. Think about how many times you've just thought, I don't want to fill out this loan application. I don't want to have to reach out to them. What you do is you get discouraged, frustrated, or fed up with the process, and that emotional thing has you quit the thing that is required to get the strategic good outcome. And as soon as you realize that, like, whoa, I'm just giving up. I'm giving up on the right thing because I feel the wrong way. You really got to get your head around this one. Like, this is a major decision, right, in your life. You want to be thoughtful and strategic and intentional about it, not impulsive or acting from discouragement. Now, I know therapists on the line who's, Brendon, oh my God, you're such a terrible coach. Don't you realize that people, should listen to that discouragement? I'm like, oh yeah, absolutely. I just don't want you to live there or make all your decisions from that place. You can listen to discouragement. You can feel fed up. Notice I'm not taking away the emotion. In fact, the whole goal is here, where are we coming from? When people first propose quitting a marriage, a relationship, a job, an opportunity, their first proposal of, this is stupid, I'm gonna quit, is impulsive, not strategic. And I, again, as a coach, when they first throw it at me, I wanna know where they're at. If we can keep honoring as the baseline, honoring the process, honoring the struggle, honoring our emotions, honoring other people as they cope with difficulties too, oh my gosh, it gets so much easier. There's so much less pain. So much less pain. We stop fighting what is, and we start asking how we can engage it with integrity and kindness and peace in an honoring way. For those of you who've ever been with people who are dying, or those of you, I know we have a lot of, professionals here. We have a lot of doctors and nurses and first line caregivers. They would all tell you that a person in the hospital just wants to be honored. They want their feelings to be honored. They want their pain to be heard. They want their experience to be recognized. They want to be seen and heard, just like all of us. All of us want to be seen and heard and validated and recognized and appreciated and respected in life. In other words, honored. When I say I see you, I understand you're going through a hard time and I don't label you. I'm giving honor to you. When you see, hear, recognize, appreciate, love, adore other people, when you show kindness and patience to other people, that's what I mean by honoring. That's what I mean. Everyone wants to be honored, seen, heard, felt, respected, validated, appreciated, loved, adored, recognized. That's a sense of I'm honored as a human being here. That's what we all want. That's what we want. And so let's recognize that in ourselves and other people.
Reveal uncertainty. This one is the opposite dynamic of how I used to think of confidence, right? We think of confident people as people who are just like, it's like Wonder Woman, right, is confident. We think of Superman is confident, who just knows everything. Really what it turns out to be, high performers are listen to this, high performers are a lot less Superman and a lot more Clark Kent. That's what it turned to be. In all the research, with millions of data points, in all of my conversations, high performers were much more likely to reveal things like, I don't know. Things like, I'm unsure. Things like, how do you think this should go? Things like, could you kind of help me with this? Like, high performers literally explicitly share that they don't know how it's going, they don't know how it's supposed to go, that they need some help, that they need some mentorship, that they need some guidance. That's confidence. Confidence is not holding back the deck of cards of your weaknesses. Confidence is a comfort with vulnerability. And when people say vulnerability, they often don't know what they mean. When we're talking about vulnerability, specifically related to confidence and high performance, like measurable outcomes, the thing that we can measure and see is that high performers in group meetings, in team meetings, in social situations, more often share their insecurity. They more often say, I don't know how this is supposed to go. Or, they'll be the person, at that fruit punch bowl who says, I don't really know anybody here. I don't really know how to start to meet some of these people. Could you introduce me to somebody? And that's how they handle the social networking, where they're awkward. that instead of just sitting back at the punch bowl, drowning their sorrows and feeling bad about themselves, they engage the person next to them and say, hey, you know what? I feel kind of awkward here. I don't know a lot of people. Could you introduce me? That's how high performers are handling these little situations in life. They're not the most confident person in the meeting who goes, I know everything here. They're the most confident in going, you know what? I don't know this. Here's my question. What do you guys think? And that is how you lead confidently. You reveal that you don't know everything. Saying I don't know is power, not weakness. But you've been trying to do too many things on your own. And that's one reason you don't have the confidence you deserve at this stage of your life. Because see, I didn't want to start with my definition of confidence for you, because I want you to be thinking about it, but I'd like to share it now that we've talked about defining and measuring it. The way I look at confidence is I think the confidence that matters the most is the confidence in one's belief in our ability to figure things out. That's what I believe confidence to be. Do I believe in my ability to figure things out? Not, do I know things? Because it's not always true. There's a lot of things I don't know. But do I believe in my ability to figure things out? Now there, I'm confident. But not because I'm smart, because I'm good at asking. I'm good at saying, you know what? I don't know how to do this. What do you guys think? And I hope this is settling in for you, because sometimes your confidence is so low because you think your confidence is correlated with what you know versus what you're willing and able to go figure out by revealing that you don't know.
Because you made it this far in a video, I want to celebrate you. Most people start and don't finish. Most people never actually follow through. Most people say they want something, but they don't ever do the work to actually get it. But you are different. You are special. Believe Nation, you made it here all the way to the end, and I love you. So as a special celebration, if you put a hashtag believe down in the comments below on this video, I will showcase you and celebrate you somewhere on the screen in a future video, because you are awesome.
For 10 more amazing rules from me, check the video right there next to me. I think you'll love it. Continue to believe, and I'll see you there.
For optimistic, happy, ambitious people, we usually don't like looking backwards into the pain. If you're the kind of person watching these videos, you're probably the kind of person who's pouring into others, who's loving others, who's optimistic, who's trying to not think about the rain.